Okay, I've been talking about making YouTube videos, so I'm just gonna go for it with first video. So I got, well, for one, I guess, my name is Brandy Hama. I wanted to start a YouTube channel of some sort that talked a little bit about like mental illnesses and anxiety and depression, and kind of try to put some things in words so like people can feel like they can relate, and maybe talk about some topics or questions, or like ask for like maybe people asking for advice or something in the sense of like how I deal with certain things, and some ideas for them, along with just like maybe backstories for a lot of things, talking about other topics. I feel like it's gonna be a wide range of things, so I'm not limiting it to anything whatsoever. So I got myself a whiteboard yesterday to write down the topics for what I would talk about today. I intend to have this whiteboard next to my bed, with goals for like the week, because I've learned with keeping a weekly weekly planner, writing out, because I'm a bartender, and I'll write out how much like I make in a shift and how many hours I work, and like, you know, how my spending habits are, my saving habits are, things that I have to do for the day or the week or whatnot, plans and everything. So notice that when you write things down, you're a lot more likely to do it. And I'm not a very tech savvy person, so putting it in my phone honestly doesn't do me like as good, I feel like, as writing it down on something. So that's why I want to have this next to my bed, more so to remind me, like, especially with my like, I guess like eating habits, because when I get stressed, I tend to like binge eat, and I'll just eat when I'm not hungry, and that's when I start feeling dissatisfied with my body, because I start feeling really bloated and lethargic and gross and whatnot. So kind of like, I guess, example for me, if I'm gonna have coffee, it needs to be like just cold brew, not some crazy sweet chocolatey drink or something like that, or you know, lower on carbs, or try to get, you know, 10 minutes of yoga done today, or try to get 30 minutes of some type of workout today, just like things like that. So I think it'll benefit me to help me get motivated in the day, in general. I might even keep one, try to have a few of these around the house just to like doodle on and write things on, which is kind of something too that like my therapist had recommended to me like a while ago. Not quite with whiteboards, but with I'm forgetting the name of them, but it's like a little board thing, and I already bought it and I gave it to my stepdaughter, but it's like a type of paper that you write on with like a wet paintbrush, and it's black, but then it like fades and goes away. So it's kind of like a good thing for like when you're irritated or frustrated or feeling something in the moment, and then you like, you know, paint whatever, and then it goes away, and it's almost like a clean slate per se. I'm totally forgetting the name, but when I think of it, I'll mention it in another video. So anyways, for my topics of discussion, I posted on Instagram and whatever that I'm like crazy bummed about the whole Chester Bennington suicide thing. And like I mentioned, there's been 3 like celebrity suicides in the last 2 months. Obviously like Chris Cornell, which personally wasn't like a huge one to me, but like another one that kind of struck me that was the beginning of July was Stevie Ryan, who's she's like a YouTube comedian star, and had like a podcast with another girl, Chris Carney, and it's 2 girls that talk about depression, and like just literally are very raw and real in the moment, talking about the topics and how medication affects them, and like talks about like, you know, just daily things, and just how certain things like make them think, and is just just very real overall. So that girl from the podcast, she hung herself as well, and it's not like I knew her or anything like that. Like, yeah, she lives in LA and not much older than me and stuff like that, but that one just like really struck me because I mean, just being a young girl who was so honest and real with her emotions, and then her grandfather passed away, and it just like ruined her. And then that's, I think, seemed to what contribute to her ending her own life. So obviously with Chester Bennington, seems to be the same way. From losing someone made him kind of be like the last straw. But then just someone who suffers and deals with anxiety and depression their whole life, like, I mean, sometimes like getting through a day is literally the hardest thing. And, you know, you don't have to be like going through some crazy like life-changing fucked up situation like to like feel really low, but usually that's like what it all stems from, is something like really just not great in your life, and then, you know, that's where it all begins. What it seemed like for him as a child with I think like sexual child abuse and things like that. And then I mean, like, personally, my depression, anxiety stems from being a child, absolutely. From my parents splitting when I was super young, and it just being a very rocky, just messy ordeal for years. I'll talk about that, I guess, another time. Then you carry that with you, and then whatever happens in life later, it's like it all like kind of comes full circle. Like, you have issues with this thing because what happened to you when you were younger, and how something like this made you feel, and that's just how it works typically. So oh yeah, so in Chester's like his interview, I believe it was in February, that I was watching yesterday, he's talking to whoever it is that's interviewing him about how his mind is a mean neighborhood. And then like the guy like started laughing, like, what do you mean, whatever. And it's like very apparently just does not get it by any means. And it's like, he's saying like, when I'm alone, like when I'm in this place, like this place is not very nice to me, it doesn't tell me nice things. And like when I'm in myself, he says like when I'm in myself, like I'm not good to myself, I'm not like, my mind's not good to me, like and that was just, I try to explain that to people, or like when I talk about like my mental stuff, I'm like, my mind is my enemy, and it tells me things like, you know, like I'll compare myself heavier to other people or other women, or, you know, like look at my life like feeling like I haven't accomplished anything, and like I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not skinny enough, or I'm not, you know, I'm not, my personality isn't like, I wish I was like more fun, or wish I was a lot more, I guess, like lax and things like that, where I'll just like beat myself up about a lot of things. And it's like something that you pretty much have next to no control over when your mind is telling you like all these crazy things, especially when you're super sad, and it's just like attacking you. And it's not a good place to be in, and it's a very like painful it's a painful just place to be in overall, to have like your mind against you, and it's a chemical imbalance, and you have little to no control over it, and you like just want to like not feel anymore, you don't want to think anymore, you just want to like shut off. And it's yeah, hearing him say that, I was just like, man, like that's one way to describe it. And it bummed me out that the interviewer kind of just like laughed. Like I said, it's very apparent that he just plain flat out didn't understand it, and like doesn't understand the severity of it, obviously, because he's not here anymore. He was himself, and his mind got the best of him, and he let go. So it's a very scary, very, very scary place to be in. On similar next topic, talking about depression medications or anything like that. They work differently for everyone. In my personal situation, I have been mainly off of medication for the last, I don't know, like, I guess like 6 months or something like that, where if I felt like I really needed it, I would start taking it a little more consistently again, but then I would start feeling this like zoning out, numbing feeling where I already feel that I already zone out and I don't need a medication to worsen it for me. So I would just like blank out, and I'm a very emotional person, so I wouldn't necessarily not feel anything, but sometimes I technically would, and I would have a really difficult time with crying, or difficult time with like just like reacting, or like my crying would be like delayed crying. It would be like way later, and like other little things would trigger it, like movies tend to trigger me, like in general. I don't know, like even just with like in the theaters and stuff, movies tend to trigger me. But the first medication I was on was Zoloft, and sorry to be like graphic, but I was daydreaming about slitting my throat when I was on that medication. The first month, I would daydream about sitting in my car and slitting my throat, like, and I was scared to tell my doctor that when I went back to be like, hey, I can't be on this. And like, oh, like, what is it doing? Why do you not like it? And I was like, well, it's making me think very bad things. Because like with doctors or like therapists and stuff like that, can be kind of scary if you say something like, oh, I'm thinking about, slicing my own throat and bleeding out. I didn't want someone to like take advantage and be like, okay, you need to go to the loony bin. So I had worded it softly so that way nothing bad could happen to me, in the sense of like sending me to a mental institution of some sort, because it was the medication. And not gonna lie, I've thought about suicide a million times, but not as graphic as like slitting my own throat. That was strictly a medication talking, and it was really fucked. And then I'm trying to think of the name of the second one, because I've been on Wellbutrin, Zoloft, and probably have written these down as well. I can't remember the second one, but I just kind of feel like it wasn't really doing a whole lot. I just kind of felt like my body was the same, like my chemical balance was the same. It just didn't seem like it was doing anything. So then I switched again, which is to the Wellbutrin, which was the last one I was on. I think it always also like what point in life you are in. I think that kind of contributes to like how well it can work as well. I think when I started that medication, I was just kind of like in a good place, like things were working out with work, and just everything else was just smooth. So I think I felt like, oh, this is like really working. I'm super motivated all the time. Like I was taking that along with I was going to the gym all the time, and I take like a green tea pill when I work out too, because it's like a metabolism booster. So like kind of like sweat more, maybe lose a little bit more weight. So I think it just kind of depends on where you're at. It doesn't always like work the best for everyone. So I just know that for me, at least, like therapy is what I have to do to keep it in check. When I'm starting to like freak out, I'll reach out to my therapist and say like, when is your soonest available like appointment? Like when can I come? Even though my schedule is super crappy, and it's kind of hard, but sometimes because of my own work schedule, it can make it very difficult for me to go where like I go 2 weeks later than I would like to go to therapy. So for me, my therapist is, I got extremely lucky. So let me rewind a little bit. So when I started going to this therapist, I met her one day, and I met another therapist another day, or the next day. And the other therapist pissed me off, like, really bad. She sat there, kind of started saying, like, okay, this is where all my problems stem from with my family and whatever, so on and so forth. She was literally, like, looking at her watch, and I was mid-sentence, at, like, the 60-minute mark or whatever. I was at mid-sentence, and she was like, okay, so that's all that we have for today. When do you want to schedule for your next one? I was just, like, in my head, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, could you at least let me finish my sentence? And, like, I was just more so, like, venting, and she didn't have, like, anything to say whatsoever. And then I had gone to my therapist now, and, like, it was just the total opposite. I feel like she kind of gives me, like, guidance and advice, because that's typically I'm going there, like, hey, I'm freaking out about this, and this, like, I've been going for, especially at this point, I've been going to her long enough now that, one thing from her, like, she had told me when I wasn't going to the gym consistently, she was like, you need to work out and go to the gym, and, like, I know that like, helps you, and it always has. It's just, like, being motivated to go. And then I'd be like, yeah, I know, and then, like, I wouldn't go or whatever, but, or, like, you need to be, like, creating something, you need to be making things, you need to be sewing or painting or drawing or doing something, and I know, but, kind of saying, like, I don't have time, but, not creating things definitely does negatively affect me, because then I feel like I'm not, like, stimulated, and I'm just, like, a robot just going through the motions and, working my job and coming home and doing, like, all my duties and stuff. So, but then I found, even though recently when I was, like, creating for, like, some projects, I wasn't stimulated by it either. Like, after doing it repeatedly, I was just kind of like, over this, because what it comes down to is that I don't like routine. Like, I feel unfulfilled with routine. But at the same time, I like some type of structure, and I like to have some type of plan, but it's kind of a weird balance. But yeah, so I do need to actively try to create something or be on top of something. For me, like, thrifting and doing, like, my antique stuff, like, I do thoroughly enjoy it, but it takes, like, a lot of time and effort, and I don't really have that with, like, being, like, working full-time, being a stepmom, having my basically farm of animals. I manage a lot more than I think a lot of people understand, so it's very difficult to find the balance, and I've been working on it for months to try and find that balance, so that way I'm not hitting the lows of, like, not being satisfied with myself of things. So it's a lot of work, though, for sure. It's definitely a lot of work. Like, with my job, like, I got home at, I think, like, 12:30 last night, and then I just, by my body clock, wake up at, like, 7:30, and I typically need, like, 8 hours of sleep to feel like I'm actually rested. So, starting to feel, like, a little bit tired. Luckily, I have just some coffee. So yeah, with my schedule, it's really weird. I either work, like, from 10:30 to, like, 5, or I work from basically about 5 to midnight or 1, depending on the day. So my schedule, work schedule, sleep schedule, everything's kind of fucked. So I'm gonna think maybe I don't want to start a whole new subject and then like kind of rant for too long, so I actually have to leave for work here shortly. But I just wanted to start off with something and just kind of get, I guess, like some feedback or any questions. I guess I can plan for trying to do a video that kind of explains like where exactly all my issues stem from, without trying to throw any of my family in a rough place, but I guess it's just being honest, like, you know, that's life. I feel like everyone has like family issues and whatnot, some worse than others. Yes, mine could have been worse or whatever, but it definitely has it's a big reason as to why I am who I am today and why I am anxiety and depression driven person or whatever. So when it comes down to it, I don't want to be this like negative person or person who can't like appreciate life or feel good about life on a regular basis or whatnot, but like I'm very real and I'm very like realistic with the way that I think about things. Like I'm not like delusional, I'm not in a fantasy land. Like I do tend to focus more so on like what's wrong in the world or in my day as opposed to like what's right, just because like I feel like so many people don't really think about anything more than themselves. There's a lot of people in this world that way, and that's not me. So I just want to I just want to make this life about more than myself. So that's why I'm at a point in my life where I'm on a mission, pretty much, to if I'm gonna, you know, be battling this and I'm gonna be making it, because I could have been gone a long time ago by any other chance or by me choosing to not be here, which I'm a strong believer that if I stayed in Arizona where I'm from, that I would not be here right now, that I would have ended it for sure, because I was at a very destructive, dark place there. I've had nothing to help myself there. I was very much stuck in the same place repeatedly. I just think that more people should make it a point to make this life about more than themselves. There's a lot of people that were given some really hard and rough circumstances and started off life on a bad foot, or were given some really messed up situations. Not even just people, for me too, it's animals. Like both my dogs being rescues and stuff. Like I want to rescue more dogs, absolutely. I'm just kind of waiting till I'm at a more steady point in my life, like maybe closer to having a career or something, so that way it's not like I'm just hoarding animals. Yeah, there's a lot of people and things that need help in like the most like little and large ways, and certain things really don't take much. It just doesn't take much to make a big, huge difference in someone else's or something else's life. So that's where I'm at personally. Yeah, so I'm gonna end it there because I've got to get ready for work. I'm gonna continue to write things on this little trusty board for the next time. And if you want to leave comments with like some questions or topics, anything you want to talk about, so I can make note of it and try to build a more structured video off of that. So thanks for listening. See you guys soon. Thank you.